we'll see if it stays up. Another thing I'm trying tonight is to see if the situation, well, maybe what I'm trying to do is not advisable. So let me drag that up. YouTube does not like being a secondary window. I've kind of learned that, and same thing with the Mac. It looked like it was complaining, but anyway, off we go. It is a Red Bull night like usual, and invariably have a big crash later, but get us through the show. So what I want to start off with tonight, mixed bag of content. It really, really is. But Amazon's going to try another tech-infused retail concept with what's called Amazon Style. Its first physical fashion store. Move over books, groceries, and this latest foray into physical retail is focused on fashion. They announced today that it will be launching Amazon Style, a store blending the company's technology expertise with some shoppers' lingering desire to still be able to touch and try on items. And, of course, they're going to be in Glendale area of Los Angeles at the Americana at Brand, a shopping and dining entertainment complex. Now, here's the funny thing about this. They've darn near run everybody out of business, right? If you think about the impact Amazon's had, it's as big as Walmart or maybe bigger in the change to retail. So for them now, probably all this commercial space, and considering the pandemic and everything, it's probably a cheap test to do this because, let's be honest, it is not a time to own commercial real estate. There's some deals out there, some really big deals. If you're looking for a location and you don't necessarily need an office, but you're looking to maybe expand something commercially, commercial real estate right now is something to look at. And I think it's going to get much worse for commercial real estate as time goes on. So time will tell here. Okay, Tim Cook and Sundar Pichai are personally lobbying senators against antitrust legislation. So this is kind of curious in itself in that the two heads of these companies are out there doing lobbying. An upcoming bill could force Apple to open up the App Store. We know that. This is a real threat to them because the legislation that is in question is the American Innovation and Choice Online Act. So I've got 2 articles on this tonight. This just tied into it. This is a bipartisan bill spearheaded by Amy Klobuchar, Democrat of Minnesota, and Chuck Grassley, Republican of Iowa. The legislation is currently in its early stages, set to be considered by the Senate Judiciary Committee today. The bill would need to pass votes from both the House and Senate to become law, but it's still easy to see why it's ruffling feathers with Silicon Valley's biggest beast. And the legislation prohibits online platforms from advantaging, that's the word they're using, their own product, services, or lines of business over those of rivals. It applies to only the biggest tech companies, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, owner Meta, and Alphabet Google. Though Bloomberg News says it will be expanded to cover Chinese tech giants TikTok and WeChat too. And these platforms would be barred from behavior like biasing search results in favor, limiting rivals' access to the platform, and using non-public data from customers to compete against them. So these are activities, of course, that both Amazon and Google are accused of. So we'll see where this goes, but it appears that this has gotten their attention, and the 2 big heads are actually going over and personally lobbying against antitrust and probably bringing a checkbook too, I would think. So time will tell what happens with this, where it will progress or if it will not. Crypto.com had a big hack. Their 2-factor authentication was compromised. Somehow, people were able to log in Specifically, 483 of its users were affected in unauthorized withdrawals of over $15 million worth of Ethereum, $19 million worth of Bitcoin, and other currencies. The total losses worth of $34 million at current cryptocurrency values. So apparently, someone got in, didn't, and authorized basically transfers of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they were able to bypass the two-factor authentication that was required by the user to authorize the transfer. So they're not saying a lot here, but this is big. When are these companies going to start to be held liable for security risk and paying back these people that have lost their could be life earnings? It's really, really sad. It is. Engadget's reporting the first movie studio in space could be attached to the International Space Station by 2024. Space Entertainment Enterprises is also behind a Tom Cruise movie that's set to be filmed on the ISS. A module that hosts a film studio and sports arena could be connected by December of 2024. So it's called SEE-1. And Axiom Space, which 2 years won a NASA contract to construct the first commercial ISS module, will build the station. All going well, SEE-1 will be connected to the Axiom arm of the ISS. Axiom Station, as it's being called, is scheduled to split from the ISS in 2028, with SEE TAC-1 attached. Now, interestingly, there was a press release today or an announcement by NASA talking about an all-private crew who've each paid $55 million to go to the International Space Station for I don't know how long, is from Axiom, A-X-I-O-M. So some people with a lot of money are going to get to spend some time on the International Space Station in a upcoming SpaceX launch. It will be the first time manned by a completely private crew. That computer's not supposed to be talking to me either. Did you guys hear that? It said you have to turn off airplane mode. And I don't know what's going on here. I'm like totally freaked out. It's asked me twice to turn off airplane mode. So time will tell what happens here. So what's new on Hulu in February 2022? Well, I'll have the link up in the show notes. And Pam and Tommy, yes, Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee will be on Hulu. A Better Life, The Accused, Airplane, Almost Famous Ambassador, Batman Returns, Charlie's Angels, First Daughter, Invasion. I'm just reading through some of them. They catch my Nightmare Alley, Oscar, Tombstone, You Again. So these will all be released in February on Hulu. So link will be up in the show notes. So how many of you had a blackout during this latest storm surge that went across the East Coast? Well, the folks over at Lifehacker have a good write-up on what you really need to survive a blackout. Here's what you're needing: a generator. Now, if you have a power bank or two, that gets your phones charged. But, a whole house battery or generator, yes, that's always good. A water power pump, yeah, think about that. Being able to get water. If you are if you don't have city water, you're going to have electricity to get water out of your well. But how about a hand pump? I know some people that have those too. And a water powered pump. What is that? Power outage camp anytime. You can have some utility pumps and backup power, of course, but a better option is a water powered pump. What is that? These pumps hook up to your municipal water supply and use water pressure as a power source. Typically, for every gallon of water they use to run, they pump out 2 gallons of what? All right. Oh, your water bill is going to be a little higher. Oh, if you have water. Okay. I got you. A water-powered pump, an actual pump for water to help pump out water in your basement or wherever it may be. That's interesting. I've never heard of that. Of course, a car generator, hefty power bank, portable solar, emergency light, self-heating meals, portable propane heat, a UPS, and a crank radio, hot water bottle. So all these things to survive in the cold when you have a water outage. For many Michigan folks, they have sump pumps in their houses, and the electricity going out, it really spells disaster because those sump pumps run a lot. If you don't have we call it a Michigan basement. If you don't have a completely sealed basement, basements get water in them. They have a low point in the basement where there's a hole, essentially, and the water drains into that, and they pump it out. I got a buddy that lives real close to Lake Michigan, within a stone's throw. His sump pump runs pretty much year-round just to keep his basement dry. So you just never know, right? And that's why some of you that may need a generator should get a generator. Should you file a claim in a data breach settlement? Data breaches are serious, but is it worth filing a claim? Well, there's a good article over at makeuseof.com. As many data breaches have been going on recently, I'm sure we all have enough credit monitoring going on to last us into our next lifetime. But, what about getting in on the class action lawsuits that result from these things? For example, the 2020 Yahoo data breach lawsuit, anyone who had an account between 2012 and 2016 could join the settlement and maybe make some money. Zoom agreed to pay $85 million after lying about offering end-to-end encryption on a class action lawsuit. So sometimes you're going to get these in the mail. Sometimes you're going to get them in email. Pay attention to them. You might get 67 cents if you're lucky, if you fill the paperwork out. But I've been in a few, and they really never resulted in much cash whatsoever. But you never know. McDonald's is bringing its plant-based burger to 600 more stores. The restaurant chain started testing the sandwich at 8 other U.S. restaurants in 2021. The McPlant, McPlant. I'll talk about this plant-based food. When I was at CES, I was able to try some plant-based chili that was made, the whole thing was made from mushrooms. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was pretty delicious. I would not have known didn't have hamburger in the chili. It really, and of course, if you think about chili, or you think about Taco Bell, because it's Taco Bell real meat anyway, but you think about chili, the consistency, if you have all the spices in there, it'd be easy to mask something substituted as a hamburger. And it was. But the McPlant is made from plant-based ingredients like peas, rice, and potatoes. And it was co-developed with Beyond Meat and is exclusive to McDonald's. The patty is served on a sesame seed bun with tomato, lettuce, pickle, onions, mayonnaise, ketchup, mustard, and a slice of American cheese. McDonald's said in a statement, it has an iconic taste of McDonald's burger because it is one. So what about the cheese? I thought most vegans do not, or many vegans don't eat cheese. So anyway, you can have a plant-based in sandwich from McDonald's in over 600 stores directly. Now, how many of you have been eating the Impossible Burger out of Burger King? I'm kind of curious. geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com. Send me your comments on that. Let me know if you are you're participating, if you're having some of that fake meat. GameStop trading documentary premiering in theaters next week. Get ready for a trip to the moon. It was almost 1 year ago when shares of GameStop spiked around $500 after starting 2021 at $17, thanks to amateur day traders. This documentary hits theaters next week to explain how this stock craze happened. So it should be a fun. They got a trailer. Trailer's linked in the show notes. I don't think there's too many other movies out right now that you want to go see. Are you guys seeing any movies? What are you seeing? What are you watching? What are you watching on Netflix? What are you watching on Hulu? What are you watching right now that's got you going, wow, besides Yellowstone? What are you guys watching? I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you are listening to. NASA announced the first flight delay due to inclement weather on another planet. The Ingenuity helicopter was grounded thanks to a dust storm on Mars. So, flight delays are a fact of life here on Earth. Well, same thing for Mars. So Flight 19 did not happen, and they're going to try to go again on the 23rd. So we'll see what happens. The American Red Cross basically had a data breach. Locations and contact data on 515,000 vulnerable, they use this term, vulnerable, people stolen in the Red Cross data breach. So I was like, what does the Red Cross consider vulnerable people? So vulnerable people are those that have been separated from families due to conflict, migration, and disaster. The Red Cross did not name the contractor based in Switzerland, which is used to store data, nor say what led to the security incident, but said the data comes from at least 60 Red Cross and Red Crescent national societies. In a statement, the international organization pleaded with attackers not to publicly share leaked information given the sensitivity of the data. It says your actions could potentially cause yet more harm and pain to those who have already endured untold suffering. The real people, the real families behind the information you now have is among the world's least powerful. Please do the right thing. Do not share, sell, leak, or otherwise use this data. As a result of the breach, the organization shut down its Restoring Family Links program, which aims to reunite family members separated by conflict or disaster. Crazy. A spokesperson for the Red Cross told TechCrunch that the stolen information included names, locations, contact information, as well as credentials used to access some of the organization's programs. It just continues. Another day, another hack, right? It's almost not news anymore because it's gotten to be so big. Hey, if you're watching today, make sure you say hello. Hello, Toby. Thanks for giving the thumbs up on the show. Appreciate it. If you're on YouTube or wherever, make sure you leave a comment. Definitely appreciate it. So this is kind of scary. Space flight makes our bodies kill red blood cells, and it doesn't get better after landing. Space anemia is more serious than we thought. Now, I didn't know this, but this is crazy. Did you know that the human body creates and destroys 2 million red blood cells every second? Now think about that. The human body creates and destroys how many millions of blood cells do we have? But on the International Space Station, the astronaut bodies were destroying closer to 3 million blood cells every second. These results were the same for male and female astronauts. After the return to Earth, 5 of the 13 astronauts involved in the study were clinically anemic. Levels of red blood cells in their blood and those of the oxygen-carrying component, hemoglobin, dropped so low that other tissues in their body were not receiving enough oxygen. Anemia is known to cause fatigue, physical weakness, and dizziness. I just unplugged myself. I haven't done that in years. Fortunately, none of the astronauts involved in the study suffered obvious health effects of anemia while in space, and the researchers therefore assumed that the astronaut bodies continued producing new blood cells during their mission, but increased red blood cell production requires specific nutrients, so future astronauts should have diets that take this into account. The researcher said this would be especially important on long-duration missions, which a previous study shows can lead to more severe anemia. So what does that take? More protein? I'm assuming. What do anemic people eat? And is it liver, or what causes you to create more red blood cells? That's what I don't know. I'm sure a simple Google search of that would give it up, but geeknews@gmail.com. I know someone's got that great answer, as I bet you there's someone in this audience that's anemic. New York City Mayor Adams will convert his city paycheck to cryptocurrency via Coinbase. He can get paid directly in cyber cryptocurrency under a U.S. labor law. So this is interesting that he's going to be doing that. Oh, he's only going to take his first 3 paychecks in Bitcoin. So I wonder how much does the mayor of New York get paid? I bet you that's a big number. Just to live there alone is expensive. And also, I talked a little bit earlier about NASA's new new launches to the International Space Station. So there's definitely two. The first all-private Crew Dragon mission has been delayed a month to allow additional technical and scheduling issues. Mission customer Axiom Space is yet to confirm or comment on the delay. Stitch Crew 4's 4 astronauts will launch atop a thrice-flown rocket. They may be swapping because NASA's got a crew that's got to go up too. So anyway, the full details are linked here in the show notes. AX-1 will reuse Crew Dragon capsule C207, which previously launched Crew 1 in November 2020 and Inspiration 4 in September of 2021. So they're turning this thing around pretty quickly. If AX-1 avoids further delays, the mission will be the first time SpaceX launches astronaut in a twice-flown orbital space capsule. By all appearances, AX-1 will also have to launch on a Falcon 9 that's flown 3 or even 4 times. Again, if AX-1 launches before Crew 4, it will likely be the first crewed SpaceX launch to use such an experienced Falcon 9 booster. So in other words, multiple reuses. So time will tell. And of course, I talked a little about Senator Klobuchar's tech reform bill, and it did advance out of committee. So that was something the other article did not. It passed the committee on a bipartisan vote of 16-6. Senators Mike Lee, John Cronin, Ben Sasse, Tom Cotton, Tom Tillis, and Marsha Blackburn all voted against it. Again, the American Innovation and Choice Online Act is definitely going to get through the House for sure. We'll see what happens when it goes over to the Senate, and we'll see what happens there. So time will tell. It's also been freakishly cold for I guess not freakishly, but 10 degrees is pretty cold for around here on a regular basis. The lakes are getting pretty froze up, which is another unusual thing. It hasn't happened in a few years. They're out doing ice fishing. A couple more days of this weather, and there'll be ice shanties out there. But I've had to have the temperature in the studio up. I can only imagine what my gas bill is going to be. So, again, if you're thinking about being an insider, we definitely appreciate your insider donations at geeknewscentral.com/insider. If you haven't been over there and check that out, make sure you do. Epic's pushes to overturn App Store ruling in opening appeal brief. Apple's conduct is precisely what the antitrust law prohibits, Epic says in its appeal. So they filed this with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Again, seeking to overturn the previous ruling, Apple's control over the iOS App Store does not qualify as a monopoly, and the companies first gave notice of appeal in September, but Thursday filing is the first time it has laid out its argument at length. Epic says they proved at trial that Apple retrains trade by contractually requiring developers to exclusively use the Apple App Store to distribute apps and the Apple IAP for payments for digital content within apps. Filing reads, if not overturned, the decision would upend established principles of antitrust law and undermine sound antitrust policy. So we'll see where this goes for sure. Advanced driving assistant tech in cars today won't pass IIHS new safety rating. And who is IIHS? Well, they're pretty powerful. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. The nonprofit is funded by AKA, the auto insurance company, said Thursday that its new rating program will validate safeguards that vehicles with partial automation used to help drivers stay focused. They're going to get one of 4 ratings. Good. Wait a minute. Let me read it here. It'll have good, acceptable, marginal, or poor ratings. No fantastic, just good. Good is the best. Good is as good as it gets. So you can see now where the insurance companies and everyone else are starting to think about automation. Google Pay resets strategy again with a new leader, might even get into crypto. After their botched app rollout and employee exodus and canceled baking plans, well, they hired somebody from PayPal. They hired Arnold Goldberg, PayPal's chief product architect, will now run Google Pay after the former payment chief Cesar Sengupta left in April. So we'll see where this goes. But yeah, Google Pay has 3%. Apple Pay has 92%. Samsung Pay is at 5%. So yeah, they got some catching up to do and fix that. And it's pretty sad for you Android users. It really, really is. All-in-one diabetes device could take the hassle out of insulin injection. So until they just put something on your arm that reads and dispenses, I don't know. The first device includes the blood drawing lancet, glucose test strips, and an insulin needle. Users would first take a photo of their meal using a smartphone app to estimate the food volume and carbohydrate levels. After that, they start the automated process of collecting blood, calculating glucose, and delivering the appropriate amount of insulin. The second gadget will only need one jab needle. It would build a glucose sensor into the insulin needle and inject the appropriate amount of insulin. You'd have to wait 5 to 10 seconds, but you wouldn't have to stick yourself twice. No, you're going to have to stick the needle in you for 5 to 10 seconds. Someone's smoking crack. Oh, my God. People with diabetes will only need to use one device at meals. What do you think about that? I guess you get used to getting jabbed, but you have to hold the needle there 5 to 10 seconds and hope that the doggone thing works when it's stuck in your finger or arm or wherever you're doing it? I don't know about that. I'd be like, ow. Microsoft beefs up Edge security against zero-day attacks. In the latest beta release of Edge browser, Microsoft introduced a new feature for IT admins to better secure the Chromium-based app against web-based attacks on desktop systems. Describes the new security feature as employing several techniques to guard against so-called zero-day. Some sort of key lock mechanism to lock the system down, I guess. So, well, we'll see. Who uses Edge? Only if I'm forced to. MediaResearch.com has announced the music subscriber market share. And this is kind of interesting. 523.9 million total subscribers. Spotify, 31%. Apple Music, 15%. Amazon Music, 13%. Tencent Music, 13%. YouTube Music, 8%. NetEase, 6%. Deezer, 2%. Yandex, 2%. And others, 10%. So, I don't use Spotify very much. I'm going to be honest. I mostly use Apple Music. I don't use Amazon Music. I don't use YouTube Music. If I do YouTube Music, it's when I watch a music video. So I guess that's qualified, but I don't ever listen to YouTube Music on my phone. It just doesn't make any sense. It really, really doesn't. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga will arrive on April 5th. Despite lengthy delays, developers at TT Games still reportedly have to crunch to finish the game. So 2 years after the game is supposed to debut, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga will finally arrive on April 15th. So those of you that have been waiting for this game, it is fast approaching, and we'll see what happens here. That's what Starlink is saying for me too. April. We're going to offer service in your area in April. Well, whether I can get a doggone dish or not, that's another situation. Peacock adds live local news channels to its streaming lineup. You don't have to pay for them. So this is interesting. NBC Universal isn't going to let the live news from rivals like CBS go unanswered. The streaming service has added free round-the-clock local news from NBC stations for all users who watches NBC stations. The broadcasts are initially available from stations in Boston, including the New England Cable Network. Chicago, Miami, Philadelphia, New York City, and Los Angeles will be available in the months ahead. The platform already has live on-demand news from NBC self-branded services as well as Sky and Telemundo. You can always watch live entertainment TV from 11 local NBC stations, including those from cities in the news rollout. I don't watch those. And it's like mainstream news. I don't care for it. I really, really don't. I did watch some local news lately. It was okay, but they're still getting into national news, and it's the same spin on everything. Mercedes, their future vehicles will have Luminar LiDAR under a new deal. And it plans to use Luminar's LiDAR technology in future vehicles as part of a broader deal that includes data sharing and automaker taking a small stake in the company. As part of the deal, Mercedes will acquire 1.5 million Luminar shares in exchange for certain data and services, according to regulatory filing. Shares of Luminar popped on the news are now trading more than 17% higher. Luminar's agreement with Daimler North America Corporation will involve developing and integrating its technology in its next generation series production passenger vehicles as well as other defined activities. Blah blah blah. So NASA's Swift Observatory may have suffered an attitude control failure. Science has been temporarily stopped at the orbiting platform. NASA's Neil Gehrels Swift Observatory has run into difficulties after 17 years of largely smooth service. The orbiting explorer has entered a safe mode after detecting a possible failure in one of the 6 reaction wheels used to change attitude. While it's not clear exactly what, if anything, went wrong, NASA has halted direction-based scientific observation until it can either give the all clear or continue operations with 5 wheels. This is the first potential reaction wheel problem since the Swift Observatory began operations in 2005. NASA said the rest of the vehicle is operating properly. Now, if you remember right, the Swift Observatory detects gamma ray bursts up to 70 a day, and it has also been increasingly used to catch all observer across multiple wavelengths, spotting solar flares and hard-to-find stars. So we'll see what happens with that observatory. Netflix didn't have a great quarter. They finished with a slightly lower than expected subscriber gain. The streaming giant reported a net gain of 8.28 million subscribers for Q4, a given driven by markets outside North America to reach 221.8 million total worldwide. Netflix previously forecast 8.5 million paid net ads. So Netflix shares fell more than 19% in after-hours trading as the company forecast 2.5 net subscriber ads for the first quarter of 2022. So they thought that there would only be 7.25 is what the street thought. So here's what's going on: is lots of streaming wars going on. Netflix is not the only game in town now, so people are spending their money in different places. The feds have released a long-awaited study on digital dollar. Yes, a digital U.S. dollar, but doesn't take a position yet on creating one. So the central bank's 40-page document explores a plethora of issues and notes that public comment will be solicited. Let's see if there's any summary here. It looks at the benefits, such as speeding up the electronic payment system at a time when financial transactions around the world largely are highly digitized. Some of the downside issues the report discusses are financial stability risk and privacy protection, while guarding against fraud and other illegal issues. One of the primary differences between the Fed's dollar and other digital transactions is that currency digital money is a liability of commercial banks, whereas the CBDC would be a Fed liability. Among other things, they would mean the Fed wouldn't pay interest on money stored with it, though, because it's riskless, and some depositors may prefer to keep their money with the central bank. So it takes no position. So digital dollar, what say you on that? Facebook and Instagram reportedly exploring plans to make showcase and sell NFTs. Get your grandmother her own Bored Ape avatar for Facebook. If the company launches such a tool, it would be the biggest show of mainstream support for NFTs to date and help solidify the controversial asset placed in the digital world. So what do you think? You think we should make some NFTs for this show? Would any of you guys buy NFTs? Roku is being shamed for running banner ads on top of live TV. And then what it basically there's a picture of is a football game and then a Sleep Number ad off to the side that was just put up immediately following a Sleep Offer commercial. So, Roku, you start showing me ads when I'm playing YouTube or something like that, we're going to have words as well. Better not be putting ads up on the screen. That's not your mission, but it apparently has become so. Singapore gives banks 2 weeks deadline to fix an SMS security issue. So apparently people have lost a lot of money. $6.3 million through phishing scams with links. So I don't know the full details here, but if you live overseas and this affects you, definitely check it out. And analysts are claiming the iPhone SE could be launching in April or May. That is the expectation. So more guessing on what Apple is going to do. All right, before we go today, I do believe I've got some email. I wonder if I failed to cover it last week. If I read this one already, I apologize, and I may have, but Rob said, just a thought. China's complaining Elon has too many satellites. Here's a theory. Is China afraid the citizen will be able to hack into a satellite feed and see what is really happening in the world? I think I read that one already. So you guys should send me some email. geeknews@gmail.com. Send me some comments on your thoughts of the show recently. We just crossed 20 away from 1,600. So if I'm able to keep producing the shows as expected, sometime in March, say January, February, sometime in March, we should cross over the 1,600 episode level. So definitely not producing 100 shows a year anymore. That's for sure. It's just the way it is, and it's the way it's probably going to be. But hope you all had a good time with the podcast today. Those of you that were live, thanks for hanging out, even though you were scared to say hello. I see you there. But it's been my pleasure bringing the podcast. And let me know, again, please let me know what ads you're hearing. If you're hearing any, some of you will not hear an ad. It's the way the technology design is. It depends on the area you're in. If you actually get an ad, it should be pretty targeted to you as well. We're not selling any data or anything like that, but just let you know, this is something that's ongoing here. And soon it's going to help the show a little bit. So I think, and please don't run. I guess if you've downloaded, I don't want to say this, if you've downloaded the show, well, the ad got delivered. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so we're going to get out of here. Follow or subscribe, geeknewscentral.com, whatever favorite podcast app you've got. What else are you listening to out there? All right, everyone, thanks for being here. Another pretty short show. Got through the stack pretty quick. Not a lot of tech going on. That's just normal. But, hey, everyone stay safe. Be careful. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.